Hello, today we are going to demonstrate you a experiment which is Carey-Foster bridge, and it is the experiment number 4 as per the physics lab KS201. And in this particular experiment we are basically finding the specific resistance of a given unknown specimen wire, and in our case the wire is of basically nichrome. So in this particular practical we are basically covering the course outcome number 2, which is to interpret the black body radiation, electrochemical equivalent, variation of a magnetic field along the axis of a current carrying circular coil, and a specific resistance measurement using electrical method. And in this particular experiment we are basically calculating the specific resistance measurement using electrical methods. Now the aim of this particular experiment is to determine the specific resistance of a given wire by Carey-Foster bridge and evaluate the end corrections S1 and S2 of this particular bridge. Now to perform this particular experiment you need certain apparatus, which is the first one is a Carey-Foster bridge, the second is Leclanché cell, then plug key, some resistances boxes, a specimen wire, screw gauge, a galvanometer, a jockey, and some connection wires. And the apparatus is basically something like this. It consists of a wooden bench which is of basically 100 centimeter long wire and the wire is mounted on the scale. The wire is made up of a material which is termed as magnet. So the bridge wire of a Carey-Foster bridge is made up of magnet, and it is basically connected through a circuit with the help of a copper strips. These copper strips will have some certain number of gaps. If the number of gaps are only 2, then it is termed as a meter bridge, but if there are 2 additional gaps also, then it is termed as a Carey-Foster bridge. So okay, in a Carey-Foster bridge there are 4 gaps, and in a meter bridge there are only 2 gaps. In addition to this you need some resistances boxes, and then one galvanometer along with one key, one-way key to disconnect this particular circuit, and then on the Leclanché cell as a source of energy, and then some connection wires and a jockey. So so jockey is basically a device which basically divides the wire on the meter bridge into 2 different sections, so then you can take it as in form of 2 different wires. So in this particular case we are calculating the specific resistance of a given specimen wire with the help of a meter bridge. Now theoretically this is basically a Carey-Foster bridge, so it has 4 different gaps. 2 of them will be now rightly closed with the help of copper strips, but if you want to calculate the specific resistance of the wire, you have to apply the concept of Ohm's law, which says that the resistance of this particular wire is directly proportional to its length and it is inversely proportional to its area of cross section, and we can write X as rho L by A, or in turn you can also write it as rho is equals to X into A by L. Because what we are taking is a cylindrical wire, so the wire of a predefined radius, so the cross section area can also be expressed in terms of pi r square. The value of resistivity depends upon the material, and it does not depend upon the shape and size, and the unit of this particular resistivity is ohm meter. So if X, which is the resistance of the wire, L, which is the length of the wire, and A, which is the area of cross section of the wire, are known, then we can easily calculate the value of rho. The Carey-Foster bridge works on the principle of Wheatstone bridge, which is shown in this particular slide, where in a Wheatstone bridge there are 4 different resistances connected in the form of a diamond shape, where the 2 opposite ends of this particular diagonal are connected with the help of a battery, which is in our case it is the Leclanché cell, and the other 2 ends are connected with the help of a galvanometer, and the galvanometer is again connected with the help of a jockey. So if you want to apply Wheatstone bridge principle, the laboratory requirements are basically in the form of a meter bridge, and in meter bridge you can basically certify the law of Wheatstone bridge. Now in this particular case we are basically using a meter bridge first, and then to find the end corrections, and then we will move to the Carey-Foster bridge section. Now in the beginning we have to connect this particular circuit first, and this particular circuit can be connected in this particular way. There is one gap in this particular meter bridge where you have to apply one resistance box. Now take one resistance box and then connect the resistance box with the help of 2 connecting wires at these 2 particular points. So first of all we will connect the first resistance box in the first gap, where the resistance box is connected in the gap with the help of connecting wires which are made up of copper. and then we will apply one more resistance box on the second gap, which is basically given on the other side. So right now I am connecting this first resistance box in the first gap of this particular Carey Foster bridge, which is basically a modified meter bridge, and I am connecting the first resistance box in the first gap of the meter bridge. Now we have successfully connected the first resistance box, and then we will check whether the connections are properly tight or not. So you have to make sure that all the connections in this particular experiment are properly tight, so that it doesn't offer any additional resistances which is in the form of contact resistances. Now we will move to the next gap, and then we will deploy one more resistance box in the second gap of this particular meter bridge experiment. Now we will shift to the next side, and then we will observe that there is one more gap available here, and we have to apply one more resistance box in this second gap. So these two particular resistances are basically serving as P and Q in this particular experiment, and the wire, which when divided into two parts with the help of a jockey, will be serving as the third arm and the fourth arm. So now you have to apply again connection wires in this particular experiment, and you have to connect this particular resistance box with this gap. So right now I am connecting the second resistance box in the second gap of this particular meter bridge, which is on the right hand side. Earlier I have connected one resistance box on the left gap, which is serving as P, and this one is serving as Q. Now you have to check whether all the connections are properly tight or not. Then again you have to check whether now I will just apply one galvanometer, because the galvanometer is also essential part of this particular experiment, and the galvanometer is basically a moving coil galvanometer which works on the principle of torque on a current carrying coil. So whenever there is some current in this particular galvanometer, it shows some deflection. So with the help of this particular galvanometer, we can easily identify whether the ratio of P by Q is equals to R by S is satisfied or not. Because if there is some disbalance in this particular Wheatstone bridge, then some part of the current will pass through the galvanometer also, and the galvanometer will show a deflection in this particular device. So galvanometer is basically connected in between the two resistance box P and Q, because as per the Wheatstone bridge principle, the resistance box is to be deployed between the two vertical ends, diagonal ends of this particular circuit, and the remaining two diagonal ends are to be connected at the extreme ends. Now one part of the galvanometer is connected to the middle end of the meter bridge section, and the second part of the galvanometer is now again connected with the help of a connection wire to a jockey, where a jockey is basically a moving arm which you can slide on the connection wire of this particular meter bridge, and the bridge wire is basically made up of magnet. So I am just now connecting this particular second wire into the galvanometer, and the other end of the wire is basically connected with the jockey. So in the first part I have connected the first resistance box in the left gap, then I have connected the second resistance box in the right gap. After that I am basically connecting the galvanometer in the middle point, and now as per the screen you can find out that it is deflection is showing on both the sides. So I have connected one galvanometer also along with the jockey. So this is the first resistance box. Now as per the diagram, the battery is to be connected at the left end of the resistance P and on the right end of the resistance Q. So these are the two terminals which are utilized for this particular purpose of connecting the battery. Now I have taken the Lagrange cell and then I am connecting the Lagrange cell on these two particular ends. So if we are taking this particular Lagrange cell, we are also adding one-way key in this particular setup, so that we can easily break this particular setup once the we don't doesn't require any current in the setup. So you have to connect one Lagrange cell and one-way key. In the Lagrange cell, this small cylindrical rod is basically the negative terminal, and the bigger cylindrical section will be a positive terminal. So in a meter bridge, it doesn't matter whether you connect positive terminal on the left hand side or the negative terminal on the left hand side, because in both the cases the current will flow in the galvanometer, and during the unbalanced Wheatstone bridge the galvanometer will show deflection. So you can connect any of the terminals on any side, but you have to make sure that one end of the battery is to be connected on the left terminal of the resistance box P, and the other end of the particular battery along with the one-way key is to be connected on the right end of the resistance box Q, which is as per this particular Wheatstone bridge principle. So you have to make sure that your connections are proper. So first of all, I am connecting the wire with the positive terminal of the battery, and this particular positive terminal of the battery will be connected to the one-way key, and with the help of the one-way key we can easily connect it to the left end of that particular resistance box P. So once the positive terminal of the battery is connected, it will be again connected to the one end of the one-way key, so that you can easily break the circuit with the help of a one-way key. So I am connecting the one-way key right now on. Now my Lagrange cell is properly connected with the help of a connection wire with the one-way key. Now in the second part, I will connect a second connection wire from the one-way key into the left gap of the first resistance box. So we will take some connection wires and we will make sure that connections between the one-way key and the resistance boxes are properly done. So now I have taken the second wire, and after taking the second wire I am just connecting the second wire with the one-way key. And this one-way key is now connected again with the left gap of this particular resistance box. So now you can easily observe that I am connecting, there are two gaps in this particular resistance meter bridge. Now I am working on the left gap of this particular meter bridge. In this left gap resistance box, I am also connecting the battery on the left terminal of that particular resistance box, because as per this particular Wheatstone bridge principle, the battery is connected at the extreme left of the resistance box P and extreme right of the resistance box Q. So I have just connected the positive terminal of the battery with the one-way key, and the one-way key is again connected with the left terminal of the first resistance box, which is termed as P. Now I am taking the second connection wire and I am connecting the negative terminal, which is basically a small cylindrical rod which is of zinc, and I am just connecting this particular rod into the second resistance box, but this time I am connecting this particular wire at the right end of this particular Carey-Foster bridge. So the first essential part is to make sure that the proper connections were done, and this is basically checked by checking whether you have connected the battery at the left end of the first box and at the right end of the second box, and in between you have to make sure that all the connections are proper, there is no loose connections in this particular circuit. So right now I am just completing the circuit, and I have connected two resistance boxes, one on the left gap, one on the right gap, and then one galvanometer in the middle and one battery, which is basically shown. Now these resistance boxes have some values, you can take some values for measurement, and in the first table we will take a combination of two resistances, which is 1:10 and 10:1, which I will show you later on. But in this way we can show that you have taken two resistance boxes and then you have taken some resistances from the resistance box, and then check whether your circuit is working properly or not. So this is all how to add this particular circuit. Now I am taking this particular jockey, and by touching the jockey on the wire I can easily find out whether it's showing the deflection on both the sides, because if the deflection is not coming on both the sides, then you cannot perform this particular experiment. There must be some error in connecting the circuit. So you have to, after connecting all the components in this particular circuit, you have to check whether your deflection on the wire must be on both sides. So on one side I am checking whether the reflection is coming on one side, which is on the right side right now, and on the other end I will again check, and we will find out a position where this deflection goes into the left side. So because my deflection is moving on both the sides, that means the circuit right now is basically connected correctly, and I can easily find out the null point on this particular meter bridge or bridge wire. So this is all the method by which you can easily connect the circuit in this particular experiment. Now again, once your circuit is completely connected, it will something look like this. Now there is one end which is closed. This is basically the first additional gap. Now this is the first gap on the upper side which is connected to the resistance box. Now this is a galvanometer which is connected to the middle, and the second resistance box which is connected on the third side. This is again the fourth gap which is closed in this particular case. Now what is an end correction? An end correction of a particular meter bridge is nothing. It is basically the additional components which are attached to the third end and the fourth end. Because if you closely look in this particular circuit, which is the circuit of a Wheatstone bridge, this is the resistance box P and this is the resistance box Q. This is basically termed as the third wire, which is the meter bridge wire, which is divided into two parts with the help of a jockey. So the battery is to be connected at the left end of the P, which I have already connected, and then the right end of this particular battery is connected to the right end of the wire Q, which is I have already done. And from the middle I have taken one galvanometer, and the galvanometer is again connected with the help of a jockey. So ideally there are four resistances P, Q, R and S, where P and Q are in the form of a resistance box and R and S are in the form of wire, which is divided into two parts with the help of a jockey. But when we theoretically calculate this particular meter bridge, we will neglect the resistance of this particular connection wires, and practically when we do this particular experiment, we will neglect the resistance of the copper strips. And as per this particular figure, the third arm will start from a point where the battery is connected to the circuit, and the fourth arm will start from the point where the battery negative terminal is connected to this particular circuit. So in this particular case, if you observe your meter bridge setup, which is like this additional distance, because the wire is mounted on the scale which is of 100 centimeter, but actually the wire is mounted on this particular cross section, and this particular cross section is basically few centimeters more than the 100 centimeter wire, and then you have one copper strip which is closing this particular gap, and from this point to this point there is again a copper strip. Because I have connected the battery at this particular end, the upper end, this whole copper strip right now is basically the part of the third arm, and this particular third arm is basically having two components. One is the wire which is on the scale, you can easily observe the length of this particular wire. The second part is basically this copper strip. This copper strip has certain amount of resistance. We cannot take the resistance of this copper strip as basically zero resistance. That's why if you are performing an experiment of a meter bridge or a Carey-Foster bridge, you have to make sure that you have correctly incorporated the resistances of these particular additional circuit wires, and these modifications in the required length of the null point is basically termed as end correction. Now end corrections are basically changes in the length of this particular wire. So you can have end correction which is positive as well as which is negative also. So if this wire is grounded, extra grounded, you have to add some centimeters into the null point, because you are observing the length null point on the scale where the actual wire starts from this particular point. In that case, your end correction must be positive. You have to add some centimeters into the balancing length so that you can easily find out the null point. But at the same time, the copper strip is also provided some resistance in this particular circuit, and you are neglecting this resistance. That's why you have to make sure that you have to reduce the length of the null point so that the additional resistance is offered by the uh, copper wire or copper strips can be compensated. So in this particular way, you can say that end corrections in a meter bridge experiment can be positive if the wire length is extra on the left hand side or on the right hand side. It can also be negative if the copper strip also provides some additional resistances, so that you have to reduce the length of the null point to incorporate that additional resistances. And if both of them are present, there must be some positive or negative end corrections which we can calculate easily. So the ideal Wheatstone bridge equation is P by Q is equals to R by S, and in case of a meter bridge you can convert it into form of P by Q is equals to L upon 100 minus L. But practically when we perform this particular experiment, we know that there are some uncorrections because we are observing the extra wire which is grounded on the left side as well as the right side, and there is something such as a copper strip which doesn't have any zero resistance. So in this particular case, we have to make sure that there are certain end corrections, and theoretically let's assume that S1 and S2 are the required modifications on the left hand side on the right hand side in this particular circuit, so that you can rewrite a equation of the balanced Wheatstone bridge condition. So now my modified equation for this particular meter bridge in by incorporating the end corrections will now become P by Q is equals to L1 plus S1 upon L2 plus S2. Now if you want to calculate this S1 and S2, then you have to perform some experiment, and then you have to change the different values of P and Q to get different values of L1 and L2. Now by substituting P and Q and L1 and L2, you can convert this whole equation into a two variable equation of S1 and S2, such that A times of S1 plus B times of S2 is equals to C. And by taking multiple combinations of P and Q, you can rewrite these equations in multiple forms, and by solving these particular equations you can get the values of S1 and S2. So in laboratory what we can do is we can take P as 10 ohm and Q as 1 ohm in the first set and find the null point. Once the null point is obtained, we can write the values of P and Q as 10:1 and then take L1 as the value of the null point, and then we can convert the equation as A times of S1 plus B times of S2 is equals to C. Now to repeat this particular experiment again, you have to make sure that your value of P is now 1 and the value of Q is now 10, so that you will again get a new null point, and then with the help of the new null point you can easily rewrite one more equation in terms of S1 and S2. Now because there are two different variables and there are two different equations available, you can easily find out the values of S1 and S2 in this particular expression. So the first table is nothing, it is basically a method of calculating the end corrections, and in this particular case of end corrections we will take this. We will take P as 10, we will take Q as 1, we will record what is L1, and L2 is nothing, it is 100 minus L1, and then with the help of P and Q, L1 and L2, you can easily calculate the value of one algebraic equation. Again in the second set you will take L as P as 1 and Q as 10, and then you will get a different value of L, and by using these two particular values you can again rewrite this particular value of S1 and S2. Now there are two equations, one for 10:1 and one for 1:10. You can solve both these equations to get the desired value of S1 and S2. At the same time you will have one more set of experiment, so you have to perform the experiment with a different set of values. The first one is 5 and the other one is 2 as per the manual. So you have to make sure that you will get two different values of S1 and two different values of S2, and theoretically these S1 S2 can be anything. It can be positive, it can be negative, or it can be 0. If it is positive, that means your copper strips are having a less resistance, but your additional wire will be having a higher resistance. So there must be a need of adding some length in the wire. If it is negative, that means your wire which is grounded extra is of less resistance and the copper strips have a higher resistance. So you have to reduce the length of the bridge, null point to incorporate the additional resistance of the copper strip. So it may be negative. And if both the components, that means the additional length required by the grounded wire and the length reduction required by the copper strips, are equal in magnitude, then the final value of S1 and S2 must be 0. So in this particular case, S1 and S2 can be both positive, negative or 0. We cannot tell exactly what is coming in this particular experiment, and it also depends upon the connection settings as well as where you have connected your battery in this particular circuit. So it is basically a variable quantity, but you have to take the reading of S1 and S2 twice, one for the set of 10:1 and one for the set of 5:2. This is the first part which is required to be done to find the end corrections of the meter bridge, because without end corrections you cannot perform this particular experiment. Now the second problem is basically how to calculate the resistance per unit length of the bridge wire. Now we have taken a weak meter bridge, and the bridge wire of the meter bridge is made up of magnet. So our aim is to calculate the resistance per unit length of the bridge wire, and in this particular case we are doing one method in which we are connecting the third resistance box in this particular circuit. And in the third resistance box, now what we have to do is to remove this particular copper strip from the left end, extreme left end, and by removing this extreme left hand copper strip, there is one additional gap which is created, and this additional gap as theoretically is in series with the third arm. Because my third arm starts from the connection point of the battery, this copper strip along with this particular gap comes into the third arm. So I am just connecting the third additional resistance box in the third gap which is on the left side of this particular setup, and it is basically in series with the third arm. So in the second part you have to just add one more resistance box in this particular circuit, and then you have to perform the experiment by taking some predefined values of P and Q, which is normally 1:1, and then we will remove some values of the resistance from the third resistance box. So now once it is connected, we can easily go to the second table of this particular setup, according to which we have to make sure that my values of P and Q are exactly 1:1, and from this resistance box you can pick some resistances, and you have to make sure that the resistance box must have resistances in terms of some points value. So initially the first value taken is to be 0.3 ohm, then you have to take 0.6 ohm, and then finally you have to take 0.9 ohm. Because these particular resistance boxes doesn't have all such values, you have to make some combinations, series combinations, to get the desired value. Suppose you need 0.3 ohm, you have to pick two keys, one of 0.1 ohm and one of 0.2 ohm. And if you need a resistance of 0.9 ohm, then you have to pick 0.5 ohm and 0.2 ohm both, so that your overall value will become 0.9 ohm. Otherwise you can take different values and then do the particular experiment. So in the second part you have to find the resistance per unit length of this particular bridge wire, and this can be done with the help of the second table, which is basically shown in this particular slide. In the second table you have to put P and Q, which are the first two resistance boxes, as 1:1, and you have to take some value of resistance from the third resistance box which we have recently deployed. And normally in laboratory we take three different values of the resistance. The first one is 0.3 ohm, the second one is 0.6 ohm, and the third one is 0.9 ohm. Now here the two columns which are D1 and D2 represent the position of the null point, but in this particular case D1 represents the null point of the setup when the value of P and Q are 1:1, and the resistance box in the setup is applied on the left side, which is the third gap in the left side, and this third gap is in series with the third arm. So once the value of P is 1, the value of Q is 1, and the third resistance box is connected in the left side, and the value of the resistance box is 0.3, then you will get a null point on this particular setup, and the value of L1, which is calculated from the extreme left end of this particular wire. So the value of L1 is taken as D1. Now D2 here is not 100 minus L1. You just have to write the value of D1, which is the value of L1 from the extreme left end, when the value of P and Q are 1:1 and the value of X is 0.3 ohm. Now you have to again increase the value of resistance box to 0.6 ohm. Now theoretically, because this resistance box is applied on the left side of this particular setup, that means ideally it must be in series with the third arm, which is the R arm, and you are increasing the value of R, and your value of P and Q are exactly 1:1 ohm. So theoretically, if you are increasing the value of R, there must be some increase in the value of S to get the desired null point. But we have not deployed any resistance box on the fourth arm. Therefore, the only method to increase the value of the fourth arm is to increase the length of that particular wire. So practically, if your null point is coming exactly at the 50 centimeter in the first case, and you are increasing the resistance on the left hand side, so theoretically your null point will be moving towards the left side, so that the length on the right side, which is the fourth arm, will get slightly increased to incorporate the additional resistances which you have just increased from the resistance box. So practically what we observe is, whenever we take P and Q as 1 ohm and the value of 0.3 as X, the value of X, you will get a certain value of D1. And when you increase the value of X in this particular resistance box, you will suddenly observe that your null point will be shifting towards the resistance box, or in this case it will be shifting towards the left side. So your value of D1 in this particular case must be slightly less than the value of D1 in the first case. So this is the check which you can perform while performing the experiment, that whether your readings are in the range or they are going out of the range. So when you perform three different sets of this particular experiment for 1, 1 and 0.3 and 1, 1 and 0.6 and 1, 1 and 0.9, you will get three different null points corresponding to this particular setup, and all the three null points are basically in the decreasing order. And this is basically just because you have connected one resistance box on the left hand side, and this particular resistance box is basically in series with the third arm. So whenever you pick something from the third arm, the value of the third arm get increased, and to balance the third arm you have to increase the value of the fourth arm, and the fourth arm can be only increased by increasing the length of that particular side. So technically your null point will shift towards the left side. Now what is D2? Because in this particular meter bridge we have already discussed that there are four different gaps. The first gap is for the value of P, the second gap is the value of Q, the third gap which we have recently used is in the series with the third arm, and similarly there is one more gap in the fourth arm which is in series with the fourth arm, right hand side. So now you have to close the gap, third gap, again with the help of the copper strip, and then remove the third resistance box from this particular device, and now you have to shift this particular resistance box on the right hand side. Once you shift this particular resistance on the right hand side, you will observe that if I take a value of 1, 1 and 0.3, I will get a certain null point. Now again the value of L1, which is calculated from the left hand side, represents D2. It is not 100 minus L1, it is still L1, but it is L1 when the value of resistance box is taken from the right hand side. So P is 1, Q is 1, there is a resistance box number 3 which is connected on the fourth side, which is the right side of this particular meter bridge, and the fourth arm, and this fourth gap is nothing, it is basically in addition in series with the fourth arm of this particular Wheatstone bridge. So you must get some null point, and L1 of this particular case will be D2. So both D1 and D2 here are L1. D1 is L1 when the resistance box is in the left side, and D2 is also L1 when the resistance box is in the right side. Now, if you pick something again from the resistance box, you are increasing the resistance of the fourth arm. Now if you are increasing the resistance of the fourth arm, you will observe that to compensate that additional resistance, your null point must shift towards the right. So in the first column you will observe the resistance box will make sure that the point will shift toward the left. In this case of the second table, you will observe that the resistance box will now start moving towards the right. So the first column must be in the decreasing order, and the second column of D2 must be in the increasing order. And by taking the values of X, D1, D2, you can easily calculate the resistance per unit length of the bridge wire, which is nothing, it is X, which is the resistance box value of the resistance box at that particular moment, and mod of D1 minus D2, which is the separation between the two null points obtained in two different cases. So ideally I will perform this particular experiment for three different set of data values, and I will get three different values of rho which should be identical, because it is basically the property of the bridge wire. So all the three values must be exactly the same. Practically there must be a slight difference between all the three values, so you have to take the average of the three values to find the resultant value of resistance per unit length of the bridge wire. Now this is basically the second part of this particular experiment, where we are basically calculating the resistance of the meter bridge wire. Now in the third part, what is our aim? Our aim is basically to calculate the resistance of the unknown wire, because the specific resistance is resistance of the wire multiplied by length, multiplied by area of cross section divided by length. Now in terms of meter bridge, it is okay. You can directly write P by Q is equals to L upon 100 minus L, because the meter bridge is only used for the purpose of verification of Ohm Wheatstone bridge. But in Carey-Foster bridge, if you want to find the resistance of the unknown wire, that unknown wire must be added either into the left gap or into the right gap, and then you have to find the balancing length, and then you have to apply the Wheatstone bridge principle. In this particular case, we have taken the resistance per unit length just to convert the length into resistance, because P by Q is equals to L1 by L2 is okay, because dimensionally the two terms are basically of the same type. But I cannot write P by Q is equals to R plus L upon L2, because R is in terms of resistance and L is in terms of length. So I have to convert this particular length into resistance, and the length can easily be converted into resistance by, if you know one term, which is the resistance per unit length. So to actually find the value of the third arm, we have calculated the value of rho dash, where rho dash is nothing, it is the resistance per unit length of this particular bridge wire. So my modified Carey-Foster bridge equation with two additional resistances, one on the left arm and one on the right arm, can be expressed simply as P by Q is equals to R plus L1 plus S1, where S1 is basically the end correction required, into rho dash. Now S1 plus L1 into rho dash represents the resistance of the third arm, and R is the additional resistance connected in the third gap, and X is the resistance connected in the right gap, and S2 plus L2 into rho dash is the resistance of the fourth arm. So if for the third table, you need four different resistances: P, which is the resistance box which is already connected on the upper side; Q, which is the resistance box which is connected on the right side; R is the resistance box which is the third resistance box which we have already connected in the left side, and we can also connect it in the right side. Then the fourth resistance box is the unknown resistance. If you want to calculate the unknown resistance of this particular circuit, you have to take the value of X, and in our case we just need a nichrome wire. So in this particular case, we will take a nichrome wire. This particular nichrome wire is mostly available in laboratory, which is basically of a silver color wire, and this particular nichrome wire is of approximate length 30 centimeter, because in laboratory we all normally provide a length of 30 centimeter. Now you have to deploy this particular wire, nichrome wire, at one of the ends of this particular circuit. So I am just applying this nichrome wire on the fourth gap, which is on the right hand side of this particular setup, and in this particular fourth gap we are applying one resistance box, one this wire, nichrome wire. By removing the copper strip, we can easily add this particular wire in this particular setup, and once this is applied, then you can move to the third table. Now the third table is nothing, it is basically a method in which the resistance nichrome wire has been properly connected in this particular manner, and this particular nichrome wire will serve as the fourth resistance. So this is the first resistance box. You have taken 1 ohm from this side, this is 1 ohm. You have to add a resistance box on the left hand side also, which is serving as R, and you have to again take different values of resistance. In this particular case, for initial value of is 0.3, then you have to increment it into 0.3, 0.6, 0.9, 1.2 and 1.5, and then you have to find the null point. So in the fourth part, what you have to do is to apply two resistance boxes, and in P and Q, which is like this. Now what is R? R is the first column shows the resistance which is applied in the third resistance box. You have to perform this particular table into two different cases. The first case is when your box is in the left side and your nichrome wire is on the right side, and in the second case you have to apply this particular case as resistance wire, which is nichrome wire, on the left side and resistance box on the right side. and the values which is required to be taken out from this particular resistance box, which is the third resistance box, is 0 0.3, 0 0.6, 0 0.9, 1.2 and 1.5. That means all the multiples of 0.3 has to be taken out, and for every different value of resistance which is taken out from the resistance box, you will find a new null point. In this case also you have to take P and Q as 1 ohm. Once your P and Q as 1 ohm and R as 0.3, you will get one null point, and you have to write the value of null point in this particular table at this particular point in the left gap. And once you again increase this particular value of resistance, technically we already know that whenever we increase the resistance of a third arm, the null point will shift towards the third side. So you will observe that there is a decrease in the length, balancing length, and here we are only taking L1. So there is a decrease in the length L1, and all the 5 values of L1 in the left gap must be in decreasing order. Once you get all the 5 values of this particular uh, table, now you have to shift the nichrome wire from the fourth arm into the third arm, and the resistance box which is applied on the third arm into the fourth arm. So you have to interchange the resistance box, third resistance box, and the nichrome wire, and then perform the experiment again by taking the values of 0 0.3, 0 0.6, 0 0.9, 1.2 and 1.5, and then by taking the four different values, you will observe that because now you have shifted the resistance box on the right hand side, your null point will now shift towards the right side, and all the 5 values on the right hand side column must be in increasing order. So this is the technical verification that if all your 5 values of L1 are in the left hand side and all the 5 values are on the right hand side, left hand side values are in decreasing order and right hand side values are in increasing order, that means your experiment is okay. Now you have to take a difference of L1 minus L2. In this case you are not taking the mod. In the second table you have taken the mod, but here you are not taking the mod, you are just taking the difference of the two. In some cases it may be positive, in some cases it may be negative. Once this particular value of L2 minus L1 is known, you can find the value of X as R, which is the value of this resistance box, plus rho, which is the resistance of this particular resistance per length of the bridge wire, into L1 minus L2. You will get 5 different values of X, and because we are taking the same wire, you will find out that all these 5 values are nearly equal, and for better approximation you have to take the average of all these 5 values of X. So in this case you can easily find out the value of X by the third table by calculating the two different parameters. One, the N correction, which is the first table. The second one is the resistance per length of the bridge wire, and the bridge wire is of magnet, and the specimen wire which we are using here is basically a nichrome wire. So we are in third table, we are calculating the resistance of the nichrome wire. We are taking 5 different sets of reading, and we are getting 5 different values of this particular resistance, and these particular 5 values are nearly equal because they are basically calculated for the same resistance, and the average of all these 5 values will be the average value of resistance of that particular wire. Now again, because we have taken a screw gauge, you can take the screw gauge, calculate its 0 value, calculate the least count of that particular screw gauge. Least count is nothing, it is the value of 1 minute scale division divided by the number of divisions on the 1 year scale. You can take multiple readings for the diameter of that particular table and find the average diameter of that particular wire. Technically, when we provide this particular setup, we will give you a wire, and the theoretical values for the diameter is 0.55 millimeter, and the length of the wire which is given in the laboratory is 30 centimeters. But practically you can also calculate the diameter with the help of a screw gauge, as well as the length of this particular wire with the help of the scale which is mounted on that particular scale. Now if all the values are known, you can easily calculate the specific resistance, because you know that the specific resistance is what it is, rho is equals to X. You get the value of X from the third table, into A, which is area, which is pi r square because it is a cylindrical wire, upon L, and the standard value for this particular experiment is 110 into 10 to the minus 8. So once you know the standard value, you can easily calculate the percentage error in this particular experiment. Now there are some precautions also in this particular experiment, and these precautions are, whenever you have performed the circuit, disconnect the circuit just after taking each reading, otherwise resistance of the bridge wire will increase because of heat. We all know that the resistance of the particular wire is basically a temperature dependent phenomena, and whenever a current passes through this particular circuit, it produces some heat. If continuous heat is passed in this particular circuit, it will change its resistance, and then you will get a different value. Okay, and then the second part is you have to take down the balancing length accurately. You have to make sure that the length is as accurate as you can take, and the limitation is only due to the limitation of the meter bridge wire, which is basically up to 1 mm. And you can also calculate the radius of this particular wire accurately with the help of a screw gauge. This is all about the precautions, and in this way you can use this particular device, which is a Carey Foster bridge, to calculate the specific resistance of a given wire, where again I am showing that the Carey Foster bridge is nothing. It is basically a modified version of a meter bridge. It has 4 different gaps, whereas in a meter bridge there are only 2 different gaps. In the additional 2 gaps are basically created, one on the left hand side, which is in series with the third arm, and one with the fourth arm. So with the help of all these you can perform the experiment, and then you can find out the specific resistance of that particular meter bridge. This is all for today's experiment, and this is the experiment number 4, which is the Carey Foster.